I'm so scared of sucking. Like, I'm so worried that I suck at this that I try really, really hard. And then I'm just more prepared and more interested in doing a good job. And it takes me 80% of the way there. I think everybody could stand to think that they're worse at this.
Filmmaker Magazine presents Back to One with Peter Rinaldi.
Dylan Gelula is an actor. She sat down with me in cyberspace to talk about the work. How do you typically begin your preparation process for a role? A couple years ago, I heard you say that you start by examining what specifically makes the character different from you. Is that still true?
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. Oh God. Okay. Because the thing is, I also don't understand acting, and I'm so deeply, I have my own fears, and I'm very scared of talking about it, which makes me a great guest for this podcast.
Yeah.
I haven't had a lot of therapy in my life, so I'm not super in touch with my own feelings, and I'm not in touch with how I act or like what my process is. But if you were to say to me, okay, so you don't have a process, I would also think that wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's like, I feel like it's so project dependent. So maybe whatever I said that made sense for me at that time. I don't know if that's how I start. I think like for the purposes of this question, if it was like, like a really well-written play, it's like the lead in like a Beckett play, and I have a wealth of material, and the only thing is, am I going to be able to figure out who this character is? Not like I have to create a character because there's nothing there. So like, let's say it's like an amazing character handed. I would start with memorizing my lines. And I would because I feel like there's no emotional fluency unless you don't have to think about what your line is. So that's the most boring, honest answer, is that I would just memorize my lines so that I can do something creative, because otherwise you're just trying to remember your line, and then how it comes out is how it comes out. But yeah, that's the thing. Anything could be true. So I have no idea how I start. I just try to get out of the way of whatever subconscious process has worked so far, and it's not replicable, and I couldn't teach it to anybody. I think like a lot of people, I've been talking for so long. I feel like, sorry.
You mean right now?
Yeah.
No way.
This is so boring.
No. If this is boring, then my entire show is boring. This is all I want.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't feel like my process is replicable. Like, I think that there are people who are great actors who could teach how they do it to somebody else. And mine is so wrapped up in my own flaws as a person and my own strengths and weaknesses. Cause like I've never been to school, and I just started doing it, and people were like, you're good at this. And then I've just gotten better at it. But in this way where like when your leg is broken and you just never fix it, you just kind of work with it being broken. So now that's, my weaknesses as an actor have become some of the things that make me different.
That's very, very interesting, though.
So
right there.
All of this is to say that I have no idea how I do it, but it kind of works, and it's good 1 in 300 times. So I don't really want to mess with it.
So are you afraid of like putting your leg in a cast?
I think I'm over afraid of that. Like, I think that I just did Shakespeare for the first time, and I was really scared of doing that because I've been very fearful of any technique or any technical work. I've been feeling like that's going to make me false, that's going to sound contrived, that's going to sound like theater school acting. And I had to learn that if I don't do that for Macbeth, you can't understand what you're saying. Like the audience will not be able to hear you if you don't do some things that feel like contrivances.
Yeah. So did that actually, was that a learning experience for you for other stuff that is not like that?
Yeah, I just did that before the pandemic. So I was like, I'm ready to take all this and get back to work. So we'll find out if it helps.
Oh, I feel so bad for especially young people in the arts like this right at this moment. This is just
Yeah.
terrible. Something that Cooper said in another interview was that you were given this role in you were given another role in Shithouse first, a small role.
Mm-hmm.
And then something happened. The person who was supposed to play Maggie couldn't do it. And then he asked you. And when he went back to you, you said, "Who's Maggie?" Implying that you did not read the script, that you just, well, this is juicy. He basically said that you said you hit Control F, found your initial character, the initial character you're supposed to play, just read those parts. You admitted this to him.
Okay. I mean, I think what I said was that I had read it, not paying specific attention to the character of Maggie because I was just reading the movie.
Yeah, then he painted this so differently. But see, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because some people have talked about this idea of hitting Control F first thing, just finding what their character is and not wanting to read the whole script, just getting into what that is. And I just thought that this would be fascinating to now be told, hey, would you like to play this other role, which is the main role?
Yeah, that's what I had done because I was like, okay, I hadn't thought because I don't want to say yes to a movie if I don't think that I can do something interesting with it or I can do a good job or bring interesting ideas to it. Because sometimes like I've read things that are so good, but I'm like, I can't make this better. And I wanted to reread it before I said yes and just see if I could. But I know what you're talking about. Like first of all, I love your show. I've listened to episodes and like I love I listened to the episode with Mike Leigh like immediately. Like I feel like I listened to like the Mike Leigh one and the Leslie Manville one like a long time ago.
Yeah, that's so cool.
What a cool thing you guys talked to. Like they're my heroes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And like Mike Leigh, I mean, you're absolutely right. You said exactly what I would have said, which is like, if you're going to talk about acting, Mike Leigh is right and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody else is failing in comparison to whatever he's doing.
Yes.
There's like acting and then there's like Mike Leigh brand name acting. Yes. But yes, so like the Mike Leigh school of acting is not even edit find. It's, and that's obviously like, when he talks about it, it's like, oh yeah, that would be the ideal way to perform if everybody could just get money and just have years to do it and be on their own schedule. Mm-hmm. I loved what he was saying about how like the table read at the beginning just cuts it right off at the root.
That was the big takeaway for me.
Yeah, he's so right, but you have to do that. And like, unfortunately, it's not all about acting. There's also a cinematographer. There's also a costume department. Like,
right.
Because anyway, so, if I don't know how to, so I know that's not true.
So when you were offered this role, I can understand like saying yes immediately to this small role from this younger kid that is not experienced. But when he now wants you to be the lead in this, and he has basically no experience, and you're on a, whether you want to, paint it as this, you're on a trajectory in your career. The idea of saying yes to this seems like a bit of a risk in a lot of different ways, artistically, and all these ways, to me anyway, it would seem like. But what was it like for you to say yes to that from this person you don't know, and he's contacting you, seems like on social media?
I mean, in that also, it's like he didn't contact me first. The girl who was going to be in it did. And I know her personally.
I see. Yeah.
So she was going to be part of it. And J. Duplass's name, you know what I mean? So it wasn't totally a stranger. But yeah, I mean, I was in LA. They were shooting near where I live for like 3 weeks. And, you get rusty really fast. Like, God knows when I start acting again, I'm going to be so bad at it for a year now. Like you know what I mean? Like, so
Getting the
you want,
muscle going again. Yeah.
yeah, you want to keep doing stuff and getting better at it. And so it didn't feel like that much of a risk. I don't know. I mean, maybe, it was good. I thought it was good. And I thought that there was fun stuff to play with. And, I thought it would be fun to be around people my age on a set for a change.
Was there a lot of the magic that, it's hard for you to answer this because you don't know what magic I'm seeing in the movie.
Sure.
But was there something in the script that you were like, okay, this might be good? Because I can also imagine if I'm just looking at the words, of this, if I could reform them and it's a script, I could be like, I don't know if this could be good.
I mean, you never know. Who knows?
Yeah.
And also like, whether or not a movie turns out good is not particularly interesting to me. Like as an actor, when I'm making a decision, like how a movie is edited and a performance that gets edited is not my performance. Like for me, the work stops when the movie wraps. Like the performance I'm giving, the crew is the only people who are ever going to see it. And then you can cut, like, performances in movies, you can literally edit silence that wasn't there into a sentence. Like it's not a performance that an actor is giving. So I feel like when people are like, oh, I didn't like that movie you were in, it truly does not bother me because I don't feel any ownership of it.
That's so cool. That's great. That's great.
I feel an ownership of, like, if you saw me in a play and you didn't like it, that would be on me.
Yeah, that's so true.
That's why I love movies when there are really long takes, because you act like, or Mike Leigh movies when everyone's in the same shot, like you actually get to see actors act with each other. So anyway, I don't really worry about if a movie is going to be good or not. It seemed like it would be good to work on as an actor.
Do you, when you find out that a director has no experience or little experience, do you have a hesitation there? Like, is there something that you need from a director? And does that need get more easily fulfilled when that person is more seasoned? So therefore, then when you find out that this person has no experience, do you start to freak out a little bit in terms of like what you would need on the set?
I don't know. I mean, when you said, is there something that gets fulfilled by a person who's more seasoned? My brain was like, yes, but I don't know what that is. I just know that, and I don't know that it's like, directors have the least set experience of anybody on the set. Like,
so
you know what
true.
I mean?
Yes.
Like grips have worked more than anybody. They work all year on all different kinds of projects. Directors, if they're lucky, will be on a set 7 times.
Yeah.
And so I think it's more of a question of personality. And personally, I love to work with directors that love actors and are particularly interested in acting. Not that they have to be great directors or anything, but that's more fun for me because they usually want to do more rehearsals.
Right.
And I would just do rehearsals for years and then forget to make a movie.
So so that's interesting. So what do you like about that? Just the idea of playing?
Yeah, I mean, to go back to your interview with Mike Leigh, he's so right that what is different about the performances in his movies are confidence that you cannot build in the way that we make movies in America. Yeah. Like rehearsal is blocking and then you shoot it. And then, 2 years later, I'll think about it and be like, oh, fuck, I should have played this character that way. There's just not enough money to fuck around and be like, what if you're mad instead of happy? It's unfortunate. Like, if you look at like a Dardenne Brothers movie, it's better than everything else because they rehearsed for 2 months.
Yeah. Cooper says he was intimidated by you in a way when he met you, or there was a tension in the room with you automatically. Does any of that ring true for you, like you were seeing from him, like this tense guy?
I mean, not really. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't thinking about that. I don't know. I heard him say that before, and it's like, I don't know. I felt fine.
That's funny though, because I think that like, I think it's so perceptive of him to not freak out and to think, oh, this is good, because this is like talking to actors on the show has made me realize, like, as long as there is an energy, like it almost doesn't even matter what it is necessarily. If there's some kind of spark thing, and for him to be like, cool, like, oh, there's something here, I don't know what it is, but that's going to work. I mean, and it turns out it did, in my opinion, like, and so it was almost like it was there even when you guys aren't doing much. So like you can like just lay stuff on top of this thing. Does any of that make sense?
Oh, sure. Of course. Yeah. I mean, that's the art of casting.
Yeah. And so did you sense an apprehension in him as a director because this is his first time, or a hesitation or a lack of confidence? I can ask this question now because I think this movie is amazing. I think he did a great job. So if you did sense that, it's not like this is something that ruined the movie. It's actually something that was overcome. And I'm sure a lot of people on their first movie have this.
But I would cry every single day if I had that every day and several times a day. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Absolutely. There were definitely times when he freaked out. He had a really, really great DP who I think shouldered maybe more responsibility than most DPs do.
But wasn't it her first movie though?
Yeah, it was. But she's a little older. She was like, 5 or 6 years older than Cooper, which is a lot for when you're in your 20s. I think maybe that's what it was like. She really did a lot she's a lot of the reason why people love this movie.
Here's another quote from you that I really relate to, and this was from a while ago, so maybe it doesn't pertain anymore. I'm afraid of being mindful. I operate on anxiety and worry. And so I relate to that because I tell my wife all the time, I have two accessible emotions, anger and anxiety. I have no other ones. And I think that this is why, though, I'm a terrible actor.
Interesting.
But if this quote of yours still pertains, and anxiety and worry, you're riddled with it, how are you able to get to these emotional places you're able to get to in these roles, and particularly this role?
The only thing I can think of, as I said before, I don't really understand, like, there's this other language that I can get into that isn't verbal, that I can draw on and figure out. That sounds so pretentious, but I don't mean it like that. I just mean that I don't understand it, but I can go in and alter it and take notes and change things, and just, it's some sort of zone I can get in that what is challenging about that, which has come sort of naturally to me, is just maintaining it. That's the mindfulness, is the concentration that it takes. But I feel like as far as anxiety, I think that's been very helpful for me, because I'm so scared of sucking. Like, I'm so worried that I suck at this that I try really, really hard. And then I'm just more prepared and more interested in doing a good job. And it takes me 80% of the way there. I think everybody could stand to think that they're worse at this.
Yes.
There's a lack of preparation that I think we all could really stand to do more of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you were talking about how you never took an acting class, or you took acting classes, but you didn't like them. And you were talking about how you would like to, because it's so, you act so infrequently. It would be good to have something like an acting class, but that wasn't an acting class. And I think that most actors would agree with you and would want that. But what would that look like for you? Like, what is that, like some kind of workshop? Like I was at the actor studio when I was your age, in the 90s. And it was wonderful. I was just observing, and it seemed like people were coming in and bringing stuff almost like a gym, like working out with scenes, and like just to the people there, and they were hearing honesty from people. Would it be something like that, or would it be you want one-on-one with a coach and like going through stuff and trying to, and are you thinking of any of this to get you out of this pandemic haze?
Okay, so I think that my version of that now is that's how I use auditions. Like auditions are 95% a waste of everybody's time and they've already made an offer and they're just covering their bases. And I've really fully understood that as an adult. And now I'm like, okay, I have to send this tape in because there's a possibility they might cast me, but almost definitely will not. So I just use it to sort of try different characters and take big swings because maybe they won't even watch it. Like, so like that's my version of that, is that I do a lot of weird shit in auditions. I don't know if that's good and it hasn't worked for me, but I'm going to keep doing it. And then I think my dream workshop would be like what Andre Gregory and Wallace Shawn do, where they'll pick like a Chekhov play and then just do scene study and cast it and just work with the same actors for like 4 years. Yeah. And you'll just like once a month hang out for a day and play in there. And then all of a sudden Andre Gregory will be like, it's finished. And then you'll make Vanya on 42nd Street. So that's kind of what I'm looking for.
I want to talk about a couple of specific scenes in Shithouse. One, just this moment that I found so interesting that I thought was kind of brave storytelling wise in the way that you performed it. I think in a romantic comedy, which I guess this is. I mean, I don't have any problem with romantic comedies at all, as long as certain things can happen that make me forget my film snobbery. You know what I mean? And suddenly I'm with it and I'm loving it. But I think we have to fall in love with both people for the magic to happen. I think in this movie, I fell in love with him first, probably because of the way the story is being told. Usually I fall in love with the girl first, of course, as a straight dude, but it's not just that, it's the way the story is being told, usually from the point of view of the female in romantic comedies, or at least equally. This felt like it in a different way. But the bravery of this movie is almost like in this one scene, particularly when you guys are playing baseball and he hits you with the ball. And the way you react to that hit, it felt like something from my past. Like somebody that I liked, I think must have reacted like that to me. And I feel like I'm a sensitive guy. So like when I do something that I didn't mean to do and a person says it in the way that your character says it, which is basically like, you suck at pitching or something like that when you're hurting, you know, and then I feel so bad. And so it kind of, in that moment, I kind of, maybe from something in my past or from something else, I like didn't like you for like a quick second, you know what I mean? And it's for that to happen in a movie where it's so beneficial for me to like you. But the odd thing is that I fall in love with your character so hard. And I'm thinking it's probably because we go through things like that. Just like in real life. And it's like, so the bravery of showing me a moment that was so real, like she was hurt and she was expressing hurt, you know, in a way that was kind of not so sensitive to him. I just thought it was a really sophisticated moment, but I wanted to just hear what you have to say about that moment. And if any of this was thought about, like I'm talking about, or in this kind of crazy way of like, should I lay into him like this? Is this going to make me likable and all of this stuff?
I don't think about being likable or anything, for sure. Again, probably to my own detriment. But I mean, that moment I didn't I didn't even necessarily intend to lay into him because I was in pain. I guess maybe like because I come from comedy, my friends and I communicate by giving each other a lot of shit and yelling at each other. So that's how I meant it, which is like almost a diffusion of tension, like
Oh,
fucking suck at pitching, is how my friends and I would release tension. But I think
yeah,
that when something is good, everybody can have their own experience with it. And I think that I bet you that Cooper would agree with you. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And
yeah,
that's a good thing.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's like, that's so interesting because at that moment, like I was basically in his place there and feeling hurt by the way you did it because I'm starting to like you. You know what I mean? So if you say that and we're just friends, I'm gonna get it as ribbing. But if I just hurt you and I'm trying to I'm trying to make you like me, then all of a sudden the ribbing is not. Then it's like almost like it's hurtful. It's just so interesting that we can go on about this little moment in this comedy called Shithouse. I mean, that's one of the things I love about it, and it's made by a 23-year-old. I mean,
Yeah.
so this. The other moment that I wanted to just talk about at the end of this wonderful, what we call maybe the Jennifer Gardner argument, you say, have fun with your stuffed animal tonight because your parents did a kick-ass job, dude. There is a way that on paper that can be just packaged and delivered in such a reaming way, in such a direct dart to the heart way. You imbue that with something else. This is probably one of those things, like you're saying, we really can't talk about. Like, some things can't be talked about. If you cannot dissect it, can you just tell me what was in the environment of filming that at that moment that helped you do whatever you were doing there?
I felt overwhelmed more than ready to draw a sword and dart somebody. I think I felt like it was almost I mean, betrayal is not the right word, but I can't think of another word, where I think that in her head, it was like they were going to hook up and then keep hanging out sometimes and like see each other sometimes. And then the fact that they hooked up once and he came on so strong is disappointing. And I
Mm.
feel like that's something that uh, maybe some of the men watching this movie wouldn't think about. But it's disappointing. She likes him and he's ruining it from her perspective. So he's done all of that. He's come in when she's with this other guy and demanded he leaves, which she feels like is inappropriate and paternal and weird. And then they're having this argument and he starts crying and then calls her a slut. And it's just like all of this is just so overwhelming and fucked up. And she's just like, you know what? It's more of like a washing my hands of this than I'm trying to
Mm.
hurt you, because I'm trying to hurt you is staying in it more than she wants to.
Yes. Yes. So see, all of that, it just sounds like this is so dense of a scene in terms of what is there for each character, and you're able to analyze it like that, able to base it in reality that you can deal with, and then perform it, of course. But is this rare for it feels like it's rare to me. Like, a lot of scenes in movies don't have this. It's not that this is necessarily that complex, though. It's just real. It's just like characters being real and being able to be real, and not directed in some kind of way that makes it less specific and therefore less universal.
Well, I mean, ideally, everything has this in there to play with, but I kind of think it's the responsibility of the actor to make it up if it's not. So, I mean, unfortunately, everything is not rife with little details that you can play with. So, I'm gonna try to put that in there, whether or not it's on the page.
speaking directly to your inner actor, is there anything good that has come out of this COVID time?
When you asked me that, the first thing I thought was that I've been able to watch a lot more movies, and see a lot of really great performances, and also write a lot. Having had nothing to do and having to be creative in a new way, I think is going to be good. I'm starting to go back to work and starting to act again, so I think I'll have a better answer for you in a couple months. I'll see what happened, but I think that anything that happens to you makes you a better actor.
What a beautiful way to end this. Dylan Gelula, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Back to One is a production of Filmmaker Magazine, which is a publication of IFP, the Independent Filmmaker Project. Listen to back episodes of this podcast at filmmakermagazine.com or wherever you get your podcasts.